Hi there, I'm Shoshana Landis, and this is my final speech for Com110. Our text says to come prepared when getting ready to give a speech, and that means mentally, physically, and spiritually. Now, if we're mentally prepared to give a speech by having written our outline and our speech, and then visually seeing ourselves giving this speech, that area is all covered. But what does it mean to physically and spiritually get prepared? Well, physically prepared can mean anything from eating a good breakfast, so you have fuel in your body the day of your speech, to walking off or pacing your speech, basically, kind of like an actor does when they're reciting their lines in a play. When they're moving from place to place as they speak in a show, and to what you're wearing that day, basically, kind of like donning a costume or looking your best, as professional as possible. That's what physical preparation can mean. So what does spiritually preparation mean? What does that mean? Well, that starts with prayer that calms your inner self, basically, calms your spirit. And for example, the Spirit of God, or for the Spirit God gave us, does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. That comes from 2 Timothy 1:7. Now, our text talks about specific techniques before and on the day you deliver your speech, which may include these points: allowing sufficient time to prepare, like days even before your speech, use of presentational aids, practicing your speech out loud so you can hear yourself. It's engaging your speech, your hearing, your mind, and your reading. It's engaging several of your thought processes, your senses, basically. It's engaging several of your senses at one time. Actors also will do that. Dressing up the day of your speech so you, again, look professional. Choosing an appropriate time to speak if applicable. Sometimes you don't get to choose. You have to go when you're asked to speak. Using positive self-talk to encourage yourself, to motivate yourself. Facing your audience with confidence, and focusing on sharing your message, because it's about your message that you're giving to your audience. It's not necessarily about what you're feeling at the time. If you're feeling upset or worried or anxious, it's about getting your message across. And that comes from pages 28 to 29 in our text. Now, we were asked about several of our speeches, and the first one was our informative speech. An informative speech is one whose goal is to explain or describe facts, truths, and principles in a way that stimulates interest, facilitates understanding, and increases the likelihood of remembering. Basically, these speeches are designed to educate our audiences, and that, again, is from our text, Verteber and Sell Now, page 229. And so what went well with this particular speech, I was asked? Well, my information speech was on PTSD, which is a good subject. And I thought my eye contact was pretty good in that speech, as well as because I filmed it in my library, it seemed more intimate to me. And so what did not go well in that speech? Well, I had to refer to my notes a lot, and I had to keep stopping and starting the speech. I had to film it several times because that happened to be where one of my little cats lives, is that library, that particular room, because he's a troublemaker. So he has to stay in that room, and I couldn't kick him out. And it was really late. Actually, it was wee small hours in the morning for me to before I finally finished filming that speech, and I was really exhausted, and Yeah, by the time that particular speech got done, it didn't come across as well as I would have liked it to. But now, looking back on it, if I reread my notes and practiced it, I think I would come across in a much more knowledgeable and confident manner with that speech. Okay, so demonstration speech. A demonstration is actually a method that shows how something is done, displays the stages of a process, or depicts how something works. That actually came out of our text as well from page 235. In what areas or components did you improve from your informative speech? So from one speech to the next. My demonstration speech was from how to make eraser earrings, and I felt like although I improved from my informative speech to my demonstration speech, it was a challenge because basically I was just writing and talking about something in my information speech. My demonstration speech I was showing you how to do something, so it was extremely different. There wasn't a way to really compare the two of them, I didn't feel. Because I really felt like I spoke to and made kind of a cognizant effort to connect with my audience in the demonstration speech, because I had to not only make more and better eye contact, but I was challenged by the fact that I was teaching you something and I had to be on camera teaching you something with my face. Usually when I teach something in my videos, I'm just using my hands. You don't see my face. You see my hands in the video or the project that I'm working on, but not my face. So this was a real challenge for me to do this on many levels. So I thought it was good for me. But what areas and components still need to practice? Well, I think for my evaluations, I could have been a little bit more prepared, and after reading them, the lighting could have been a little bit better, and I could have zoomed in a little bit more because I was using small components like beads and wire, and they weren't showing up as well as I would have liked them to. But I learned a lot from doing the demonstration speech, and it was a real challenge. It looked like it was easy, and it was not easy at all. So this was good. It was good for me. Now, my persuasive speech. Persuasive speeches are organized as speeches to convince or speeches to actuate. Basically, they are used to change a belief or a call to action. That's from our text as well, page 285. In what areas or components did you improve from your demonstration speech? This was pretty good. I don't feel like I was as challenged in a way because I wasn't showing you how to do something. I was basically relaying, no pun intended, persuading you what to do, basically. So even though I wasn't showing you how to do something, I was trying to persuade you how to do something, which I do all the time. I've been doing it for several years, and it wasn't that big of a challenge to do that because I'm trying to persuade people about relay all the time. It comes as second nature. It's not that difficult to me. Which I wish it was a little bit easier to talk to people about Christ, as easy as it is to relay. But I gave my speech on why I relay with the American Cancer Society and the Relay for Life and volunteering, and I didn't rely upon my notes as much. I just used them as a guideline. That came really easy. And what areas do I need practice on? Well, I'd like to have used my original speech. because in my original speech, I had my PowerPoint presentation behind me on an overhead. It was fabulous, I feel. I had the computer next to me so I could flip through and I could show you on the big screen. I had the podium. I had the camera angled just right. I was standing up in the classroom, and I felt that it was really good. I felt that it worked out really nicely, and that I had a visual aid there, and you could see more. And it wasn't just me talking to you. There was other things there. So I felt that it was fuller as a speech. It wasn't just me telling you things, it was, you could see things. There was visual things as well, components. So because Movie Maker and the software there, I wish there was a better product. It would have uploaded, basically saved and uploaded a little easier, so that I could have showed that first speech rather than having to refilm and just use me talking. So that was the downfall of everything. Yeah, but what do? You move on. Okay, so what biblical principles are relevant to confident public speaking? But the one who prophesies speaks to people for their strengthening, encouraging, and comfort. That's from 1 Corinthians 14:3. And I think that basically in the final days that we could be in now, anyone can be used for prophesying. And basically, if we're called to give a speech, this is our way of encouraging and uplifting our audience through what we're speaking, what we're giving to them. So it's kind of a little bit backwards in a way, but if we're confident and we're giving confidence to those and through our message, then we're doing what we're called to do. But if we go up there and we're anxious and we're not confident, we're not going to be able to express that confidence that we're given through God to the people who are there listening. So we're defeating the purpose that we're called to do, basically. That's what I'm getting from that particular verse. And I thought that verse really touched me. I had to go with that one. And cite at least one specific principle from the Bible. And this one really got my heart here. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. That's from Genesis 2:7. In our world again today, first of all, people don't believe that God is a superior being and that he created man. Secondly, they definitely don't believe that God or that man is created from the dirt of the earth or the dust of the earth. But it's ironic that in our decomposition stages, when we die, that we return to the earth, basically. In a casket, most people decompose. They've become nothing. Just their bones are there. And then our bones decay as well. It takes longer for them, but they do decay. So we return back to the earth, basically what was brought from the earth. I just find that ironic, that people won't believe what's right in front of their eyes. And why is it important to consider biblical principles when speaking? Well, if you're rooted in the Bible, as you should be, you'll also know that, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, which is basically patience, goodness, and faithfulness. That's from Galatians 5:22. And this will lead you to minister to your audience in that way and not try to deceive them or give them an untruth. I'm sure that there's speakers out there all the time that try to do that. We know that. But for the most part, if you're a theologic Christian, you will try to do the best thing, the right thing, the thing that God is leading you to do, and you will follow those principles and those rules and those gifts that we're given. And how do you plan to use what you've learned in this class in your personal and professional life? Well, in many, many ways. Already I'm thinking of them. I'm excited to use these experiences again and again, not only in work and in school, but in my volunteering for when I do have to give speeches or maybe even sing on stage. And because I have terrible stage fright, I've tried everything to get past it. I have taught drama. I have been in the theatrical productions, and also in my career later on, because I'm hoping to be an expressive art therapist, not just with theater, but in lots of forms of expressionism, to work with vets and maybe even children who are between the ages of 11 and 17 who are prostitutes. So that's my goal, and maybe other people as well, whoever God leads me to. That's what I'm hoping to work with. But I personally have a small stage fright issue because of something that happened when I was about 5 years old. I got inebriated because I used to hang around with all adults. That's who I grew up with. And I was the only child in the family at that age. And my mom was a singer. She sang with Wayne Newton here in the Valley when they were kids. And she had a beautiful, gorgeous voice before she died about 13 years ago. And she told me, get up on the stage show and sing. So I did, fell off the stage because I was inebriated. And everybody laughed because they thought it was funny, see a little kid, And so I think that stuck with me. So hopefully these principles and, of course, God's love and grace will continue to help me to get past that. So I thank you for this class and for everything that I've been taught in it, and I'll continue to work forward. And God bless your future endeavors as well, Professor. Take care. Bye-bye.